Moving straight ahead. Now this is where things seem to get a little interesting for many of you, and this is the unit that is really critical for 8th grade. Let's take a look at what we went over. Before we get started, we were introduced to the idea of linear relationships and their equations, and we said that the equation of a line is going to be written in y equals mx plus b form, where y and x are variables, so we're going to keep them y and x, but m stands for slope, and slope is, another way of saying slope is rise over run, and another way of saying rise over run is y2 minus y1, if I'm looking at the coordinates, over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to be using this idea a lot. I'm also going to be reminding us that b is equal to the y-intercept, because y-intercept has absolutely no b's in it. All right. What, for question 1, I'm sorry, does it make a difference what 2 points you choose on a straight line to find the slope of the line? Use the line below in part B to help explain your answer. So then I'm going to drop down to question B, and I'm going to come back to A after it. So if I take a look at the idea of rise over run, I could tell, let's take these 2 points that they give us. My rise in this line is how much it went up. And noticing that each line in this grid is worth 1, I know that my rise is 3, because I go up 1, 2, 3. My run is 1. So that means my slope, my m value, is going to be 3 over 1, which is better known as just plain old 3. Then my y-intercept is where my line crosses the y-axis. And here's the y-axis, and it crosses right here at -2. So my b value is -2. So my equation is y is equal to 3x minus 2. Well, does it make a difference? Let's take a look. And I'm not going to write out an answer, I'm just going to verbally explain it as I show why it doesn't. So obviously the answer is no, it does not make a difference. I'm going to pick 2 other points. How about this point and this point? And let's find the slope using these 2 points, and if I get a slope of 3, we know it doesn't matter. So again, rise over run. So what is my rise? Well, I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my rise here is 6. My run, I go over 2. 6 over 2 is equal to 3 over 1, or 3. Second page. All right. Matching, we love matching. So, group 1, all right. So I'm going to go with A, B, C, and D. So I know that we have an A, because they're all tables, B, C, D. So I'm going to match my tables with my graphs. And the first way to do this, the easiest way to do this, is look for the y-intercept. And we know the y-intercept occurs at the x-axis, at the y-axis, and the x value at the y-axis is 0. So if I look at this here, my y value along this axis is in fact 0. So here's -1, 1, 2. Well, what's in between those two? 0. So this has a b value of -1. This one has a b value of 1. This one here has a b value of 1.5. And this one also has a b value of 1. So this should make life much easier for finding at least 2 of them, right? So which one has a y-intercept of -1? Oh. This is the only one that has a y-intercept below the x-axis. So table A has to go with graph F. I'm going to skip this one because we have 2 y-intercepts of 1. This one has a y-intercept of 1.5. This is the only one here with an intercept of 1.5. So C has to go with G. So for the last two, we need to take a closer look at the slope. I notice here that the difference between -5 and 3 is +2, because -3 is 2 more than 5. Again, I added 2, add 2, add 2. Over here, where's my difference? Oh, sorry. I should have been looking at this one. The difference between 3 and 2 is -1. It went down by 1. Down by 1, down by 1, down by 1. And we remember that graphs that are going down head in the negative direction. They head down. The only graph that does that is H. So therefore B has to go with H. And that would obviously mean that E has to go with D. It's the only one remaining. Now we have equations. Well, again, matching y-intercepts is really the best way to go. So graph A has a y-intercept of -1. Equation K has a y-intercept of -1. So it's going to be AFK. The y-intercept of 1.5 is obviously J. So there's J. And the only trick is the slope. Now, we said that equation B, or table B, has a downward facing slope. This is the only one with a downward facing slope. Therefore, M must go with B, which would mean in group D, the only remaining is L. And so now I've successfully matched. Excuse me, and now I have the hiccups too.